Second, he says Islam doesn't recognize other faiths. Islam, on the contrary to any other divine book available today, is the book that teaches tolerance of other faiths and tolerance of members of other faiths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran recognizes the houses of worship of the Jews and the Christians and the temples. And He says, Allah in the Holy Quran says, it is Allah's protection for those places to remain, for there Allah's remembrance is done in abundance. That is about houses of worship. That is why Buhlul one time was consulted by the Khalifa. The Khalifa had an idea of demolishing all the churches. So Buhlul said to him, this is not a good idea, because Islam, Rasulullah didn't abolish the churches, didn't destroy the churches. Why would you destroy the churches? He said, Buhlul, what do you know? So time of Salah came, Buhlul said, can I lead the prayers? They said, okay, Buhlul, go ahead. Allahu Akbar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Muslimin. They said to him, Buhlul, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, not Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Muslimin. He said, but you are destroying the houses of worship that belong to other faiths. And this is the message that you're giving to them. This is not the teachings of Islam. Second, Allah also tells Rasulullah to go to the kuffar and have a dialogue with them. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. In the end, what do? We fight, we kill. لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. You keep your faith and we keep our faith. Rasulullah engaged in many peace treaties with the pagan Arabs, with the Christians, with the Jews. You have to read the Islamic history. And especially with Ahl al-Kitab. Allah tells Rasulullah to engage in a dialogue with them. قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. Let us come together. Let us have common understanding. Let us have peace. And of course, the most famous of verses in Surah Al-Baqarah that states, لا إكراه في الدين يا رسول الله. There is no compulsion in this religion. Islam must resonate in the heart. If it doesn't resonate in the heart, if it comes with the sword, as long as the sword is gone, then Islam will be gone. Then let us come to the second theory. So the first theory that says Islam has limited us in two ways. Number one, eliminating women, we spoke about that. Second, boycotting other religions. We have verses in the Holy Quran that say the exact opposite. قُلْ تَعَالَوْا means tell them to come, not go. قُلْ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ. Second theory is the exact opposite of the first theory. It says that the West accuses Islam to be the reason for our backwardness, but indeed it is the West that has caused the stagnation for the Muslims. How so? They go back all the way to the World War I. What happened in World War I? The English and the French defeated the Ottoman Empire. And they came to large Islamic territories and they divided them into smaller nations. For example, Jordan and Palestine and Syria and Lebanon were one land. They came and they divided them up. And what did they do? They placed their own so-called puppets. And they began to dictate to them, and they would lead their nations and suppress them and oppress them. And they did, using the following method, use the minority to lead the majority. Use a minority to lead the majority. Why? Because the minority realizes that his throne and his power is always going to be under threat. So he will do anything and everything in order to cling to power. And they say that while today the Western world has the best universities, the universities started from the Islamic countries. Scholars were initiated from the Muslim land. Philosophy and culture and civilization came from Muslims. Abu Ali Sina, Al-Farabi, Jabir ibn Hayyan were amongst the greatest of scholars. Ibn Sina, Sadr al-Muta'allihin al-Shirazi or Mullah Sadra, they were the founders of algebra, chemistry, philosophy. After the World War I and the interference of the West, the Muslims started declining. This is the second theory. What about the third theory? The third theory is neither one or two. It is the word of Allah, and it's not a theory because it's a fact. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Quran, in the verse that I recited onto you in the beginning of the sermon, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. You indeed are the best of nations, the most powerful of nations. كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. The scholars of tafsir have stated Allah has put the result after the cause. So the cause is iman, تؤمنون بالله, and then تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. Because I cannot do أمر المعروف والنهي عن المنكر without iman. And iman, brothers and sisters, is something that needs to resonate in our hearts. قالت الأعراب آمنا. The Arabs said we have iman. قل لم تؤمنوا. No, you are not mu'min. ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. When iman resonates in your heart, say you are mu'min. Today many of us, by name, by identity, yes, we are Muslim. But has iman truly resonated in our hearts, in our souls, in our lifestyles? Do we live a life of iman? Do we lead a life of iman? That is the question we have to ask ourselves. Iman, brothers and sisters, has many pillars. Amongst the most important of pillars of iman is faith. Having faith in Allah. Many people lack faith in Allah. If they have difficulties, they lack faith in Allah. If they go through ups and downs, they lack faith in Allah. If they have health problems, they lack faith in Allah. If they pray and their prayer is not answered, they lack faith in Allah. Or simply, they just cannot give themselves and submit to Allah. Submitting to Allah, Islam, huwa taslim. Islam is to be submissive to Allah. They cannot be submissive to Allah. Why? Because I'm afraid if I pay my khums, that is $10,000. I'm being submissive to Allah, but I need the 10,000. So I will not submit. I cannot have faith in Allah that He will restore this money. I do not have enough faith in Allah that He will solve my problems. We are told to have faith in Allah like a farmer awaits his crops. How does a farmer await his crops? A farmer puts the seeds, then he plants the seed, then he waters the seed, then he goes home. If you come and you tell the farmer, excuse me, do you think those plants are going to grow? He's going to tell you, I know those plants are going to grow. I am certain those plants are going to grow. Today, many of us, if we have problems and we come, we ask them, do you think that your problems are going to get resolved? Do you think Allah will answer your dua? I don't know, maybe inshallah. While the answer is, I know Allah will listen to me. I know Allah has the best plan for me. This is complete faith. And it's, of course, faith in the time of difficulty. We have to turn difficulties on our side. Not be buried by difficulties. In fact, A famous poet, a famous Persian poet gives this example. He says, do not look at